Welcome to the October 12th meeting of the Hyde Park Town Board. This is a workshop meeting mainly, but we do have one public hearing on the agenda also. The supervisor is at a shared service meeting at the county right now, and she'll be on her way back very soon, but she asked us to get started without her. So let's please pledge allegiance to the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, so first we need a motion to accept the minutes from October 3rd.
So move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And next up is a public hearing on the Community Development Block Grant application. Do you want to read that first, Donna, and then I'll talk about it? Or okay.
Please take notice that the Town Board of the Town of Hyde Park shall conduct a public hearing to discuss the use of the Dutchess County Community Development Block Grant Program funds for the fiscal year 2017 on October 12th, 2016 at 7:05 p.m. at the Town of Hyde Park Town Hall located at 4383 Albany Post Road, Hyde Park, New York. Any resident of the Town of Hyde Park shall be entitled to be heard upon said proposed application to the Dutchess County Community Development Block Grant Program for the fiscal year 2017 at such hearing. By order of the Town Board of the Town of Hyde Park, September 27th, 2016, Hyde Park, New York, Donna McGrogan, Town Clerk.
Thank you, Don.
So doesn't look like we're going to have a lot of comments on this. Where we're at with the CDBG application, I know we all talked about the potential for doing an economic development project. Unfortunately, we haven't seemed to kind of come up with the right fit. I know the supervisors talked with at least 2 or 3 different project sponsors who are working on either new or expanding businesses in Hyde Park to see if this might be a good fit for them. It's just kind of hard timing-wise because they really need to commit to creating a certain number of jobs depending on the amount of funding they want, and it's kind of a tough commitment to make before you're really in the process. So it doesn't seem like we've got the right fit for that this year. We can certainly keep looking for one for next year's application. The idea that Aileen and I have talked about with Pete, and open to your guys' input, is to go back to the application we did last year for putting in sidewalks and street improvements along the part of Pine Woods Road near Route 9. A couple things going on now that seem to make that make sense. One is that DOT plans on improving that intersection I think they're scheduled for 2018. So if we put in sidewalks coming off of that intersection going up Pine Woods Road, it would tie in with the intersection improvements that are planned there.
On both sides? What side?
Probably on the south side of Pine Woods Road. Okay. And then with a crosswalk to allow people to get to Pine Woods Park. Right. There's just not a lot of room on the north side of the road.
There's not, right.
And then the other benefit, of course, of that location is that there's a new owner for the parcel where the old Grand Union was, and exploring some different businesses that could go in there. So it seemed like improving that would enhance their project as well, right, making a nicer entrance into the
How far
plaza.
would we go past the park or to the park?
I think we would go to the park.
To the park.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you'd have to put in curbing. It'd be, because of the way the drainage is there and it's kind of tight, you'd need to really put in curbing to protect the pedestrians from the cars. So it's, a little bit more expensive project.
Yeah.
So that's, but, what, do you guys have other ideas?
No, that's a great idea. It's pretty tight there, though, to put a sidewalk in. Where you were this morning with Aileen, where they have the pump, I guess it is. Mm-hmm. It blocks the view of the road. You really have to really put your nose out so you can see what's coming. Yeah. And from East Park. And they come pretty fast clip down there. Yeah. So, I don't guess they can't. Maybe they can move that pit. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Pete was going to go back and look at the surveys that he had from other projects and see, if he could figure out how it would work.
The state wouldn't go that far up the road, right? Okay.
Yeah.
The only other thing that I thought is when we did the sidewalks on East Market, if we continued from the apartments maybe to the bridge, so that way they can continue to walk to Hackett Hill. It's just another option, you know.
Yeah.
That's because right now, if all the kids are walking to the park for the summer programs, whatever, now they're still walking on East Market. That's just the only other one that I would have thought of.
I mean, we could ask Pete to look into what, you know, what constraints there are there and what the
Right, because I know
expense
we
would
can't
be.
go across the bridge, but we could at least get to it, and then once they cross the bridge,
Yeah.
then they're in the park. They can walk onto the grass and they're in the park.
It would also it would help the people who live in the Golden Apartments, is that what it's
Yes.
called?
Yes.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
And once you get to the bridge, it's straighter too, the sighting is much better.
Right. But I did notice over the summer, you know, first of all, that sidewalk gets used
Yeah.
all the time. I mean, you drive that as well. That's just another option.
Okay. So what I can do is I can ask Pete to come up with, you know, some rough estimates on both of those and then run them by the program administrator, because sometimes she has an opinion on what would
Okay.
rank higher, and that's. So I think we have to actually approve the application at next week's meeting,
Monday. right?
Monday. Yeah,
okay.
yeah. So,
Is there a time frame when we have to use this?
I think they're usually awarded around January, and then if you can get it underway, you can get it built during the next summer season. Yeah.
Can you use that for two different projects, like to enhance a project that we did already?
Such as?
Well, I'm thinking
Maybe.
like on East Market where we did these sidewalks, you know, having some like street lighting or something installed.
Potentially, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
don't know if
I
we
guess.
could use that and then
yeah.
use it in conjunction with, like, say, if we did Pine Woods, and then we decided to do, could we do lights as well? Can you do two separate?
I mean, if they were kind of connected like that, I would think you probably could.
Gotcha, okay.
Or if you did the extension of that sidewalk plus
Right.
the lights.
Yeah.
You know?
Hi,
Hey, Super.
that is yours.
Oh, good, good. Hi, everybody.
And
Nice
this
to
is
have
your,
you.
this is your folder too.
Okay, thank you, thanks. Not
So
too late.
we opened the public hearing. We don't seem to have anyone from the public, so we were just discussing
Okay, good.
some potential ideas, talked about the Pine Woods sidewalk possibility. Ken brought up the idea of extending the East Market Street sidewalk towards the
To the
Hackett
bridge.
Hill.
To the bridge.
To the bridge. That way, anybody
To
that's.
Hackett, so basically? or-
Correct, yeah. So, of course, we couldn't go across the bridge, which we wouldn't need to, but as soon as you cross the bridge, then you can, you know, dart right into the
To-
park.
That's an idea, yeah.
So I said maybe we could ask Pete to come up with a rough estimate on those both, and we could ask Ann Saylor which one she thinks
Right.
would rank better, and then
Right,
we'll come up with something to vote on for Monday.
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Well, you probably reviewed how we had explored this other economic
Correct. Yeah, we
development
went over all that,
opportunity, but they need to be a little bit closer to
Right.
the completion of the project before. But I think for next year, that's a definite
But, yeah,
possibility.
Yeah.
Good. Okay, so for Monday, we'll have a specific project to vote on and set the, well, actually, we had the public hearing already, so.
Yeah, this
then
is
just
it.
Close it?
Yes, okay, good. All right, so we already, did you close it
No.
also?
Not
No.
yet.
Okay. All right, so can we have a motion
Make a
to
motion,
close?
close public hearing.
Second?
And all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, great. All right, so the purpose of this meeting really is to workshop the 2017 budget.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping everybody got a chance to take a look and go through it a little bit. And both Ken and Joe have met with myself and the various departments. Emily, we've tried to set up a meeting with the highway super, who's out right now,
Yeah, he's on medical leave through the rest of the month, so we've been trying to communicate with him by email and get his input.
Yeah. So here to answer your questions, or we can kind of, as I said, we met with a couple of the departments. Dave, we're going to be setting something up with, actually, I met with the media.
Oh.
You weren't there?
Yeah, I was there.
Yeah. Wait, I thought you were there.
Must have been very quiet.
But, so there's a couple of items, the way we've kind of delegated this is through the liaisons, and we're under the cap.
That's fantastic.
As it is right now. That's pretty exciting stuff. It's not easy, obviously, because it's 0.56%. I did take some notes that I don't know how you want to start. Ken, do you have things that you wanted to talk about?
No, I think you want to, go with your notes. I mean, I kind of went through this, and, it seems like each year, the budget is really getting cut down to the quick, so there's really not a lot of changes unless we have higher expenditures for healthcare or retirement. So, I mean, it's nothing really popped out here.
Right. Well, we were fortunate this year that the retirement costs have stabilized. That was one way that we were able to stay under the cap. The other is really our utilities cost is pretty significantly reduced from prior years. The budget does include an increase in salaries of 1.75% for the non-union employees. That parallels the unions. Yep.
Right.
Do you want to talk about the highway a little bit, Em? Or?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I had a chance to go through the tentative budget and talked with the comptroller a little about it, and it seems that you and the comptroller were able to put in pretty much everything that the highway department asked for. There's $42,000 in for road repair materials, $20,000 for drainage repairs. The areas that we still have a little question mark, maybe a big question mark, the Paved New York is an extra allocation that we got this past year, and we are hoping to get it again next year, but don't know yet. So we're not able to put that in the budget now without knowing if the funding would come in from the state. If it does come in, we'll add it in, and that will get added to the amount that we can put into paving next year. And then for bridges, we do have this South Drive project that we need to do. But the supervisor put in a grant application for that through the Bridge New York program. So that is also not shown in the tentative budget because we're waiting to see if that grant money comes through from the state. And if not, we'll have to take it out of a different budget area. It's really, I think, people see some of the grant-funded projects we're doing, like sidewalks and stuff, but they don't realize necessarily some of the grant money that you've been able to bring in that really helps to defray things that otherwise would have to come out of, that are essentials that would otherwise have to come out of taxpayer dollars. So if we can, we're hoping to get some money for the highway salt shed repair through a grant, which would be great. If we can get this bridge money through a grant, really helps us stay under the tax cap. And we do have in here, just so everyone is aware, for the snow reserve fund, I think the snow reserve right now is at, what, 100 and, well, forget.
At the end of 2015, we have 100 in the snow reserve. And we hope to be able to add significantly to that from the 2016 budget, but we really don't know because we still have those 2 months of November and December, which could influence that. But I mean, it's looking good right now.
Yeah.
But we really don't know. But so for this year, there was
for 2016. Yeah, we have. Hopefully, we'll be able to put in 120,000. That's the projection.
What page you on? I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm on page 34.
34.
So he's showing right now that at the end of 2016, if all goes well, we'll be able to put another 120,000 into the snow reserve fund. And the budget for 2017 is 150,000, which I think the way that we typically use that is that, we won't necessarily put that whole amount into the snow reserve fund, but we have that as kind of padding throughout the year, and whatever's left that we don't need for some other purpose in the highway department would be able to go into the snow reserve.
Right.
Yeah.
So that is a possibility then. I know we had talked about it a little bit earlier, to fund to budget for the South Drive improvement by taking some of that money out of the appropriation for this year.
For the snow reserve.
if
for
the
snow
grant
reserve.
doesn't come
If
through.
the grant doesn't
Yeah.
come through.
I did, at the Poughkeepsie Dutchess County Transportation Council meeting, they talked about that Bridge New York funding, and they got a lot of applications for culverts.
Oh, I bet you they.
So it's going to be a competitive one.
Yeah.
The reason I was late, I was at the county's shared service conference tonight, and they are announcing the shared service awards, but not till the end of the night, so I missed. So that was unfortunate, but I was talking with Barbara Zuloff, who's the supervisor of Beekman, and they put in for, well, there were two types of awards this year, shared service and then the tax abatement or tax relief grant, and they put in for their bridge through the tax relief, and it was a $300,000 project, though, so what we have, the application we put in was for about 100, so we'll see how that goes.
Yeah.
But just to the Pave New York, that was almost as of right. It wasn't like that was a grant that was required, a grant application, but we just don't know whether that's going to be continuously funded. So, but it would be nice if it is.
Emily, what did we, I'm sorry for not recalling, what were we doing with the roof? Was that going to be a grant as well?
Yeah, that's the SAM grant that we've
okay.
applied for. It
Okay.
was the roof and the salt shed.
So they were combined?
Yeah,
They were
that's
combined.
150.
Okay.
And we believe that we're being awarded that, but we're just finishing up the application
Okay.
process now.
Okay.
But it was an earmark, so.
Oh.
So it looks like we'll probably get that.
Oh, that's great.
And so if we talk about the police for a minute,
Yes.
if you recall, one of the grants that we submitted was for police
Police
cars.
cars,
And
right.
so we're hopeful that we're going to receive that because the chief,
For how many?
I think it was three.
Three, right?
And the chief had requested, if you go to police, I think 30,000 for leases.
Yeah.
And we did not put that in because we feel confident that we're getting there.
Okay.
Keeping our fingers crossed. So that's the plan.
Just to clarify, the 150 that you applied for the highway facilities, that would be for the major repair to the salt barn, and then to replace the
front.
roof on the
Lower
front,
roof.
the small part.
right.
Not the whole
Not the-
roof.
right, the front
Unfortunately,
floor.
it's,
Yeah.
the one that we were told was the most
Important.
critical. Yeah.
So the whole roof, I think, was estimated at 200,000.
Right.
So this,
For the
we're
whole
just,
roof.
for the whole
Yeah.
roof, yeah. Because it's a flat, I think it's rubber roofing.
Right.
So, yeah, we should know about that pretty soon and hopefully be able to get it done soon.
Oh, the other thing that is still outstanding on the highway is the income for the county roads. We have been, over the past couple years, plowing the county roads, and TC did put in here $10,000 income for that. We're waiting for Walt to tell us whether he's going to be doing that this year or not. He's had some reservations about doing that, mainly related to the paperwork that's involved. And we were glad to find out last week that the county is rolling out a new program to make the paperwork much, much simpler. And they're having meetings about that with all the towns that participate in that program. So I'm hopeful that we'll be able to continue that, because bringing in that $10,000, allows us to keep funding the other things that are needed in
Drainage or
the,
whatever
exactly.
else, right.
Yeah, so if we are not able to do that, those county roads this year, we'll need the highway superintendent to identify where the $10,000 would not get spent to
Right.
balance out that income. So hopefully we'll be able to continue with that.
Well-
And I was glad that, it was actually a strange coincidence, because I had just written to the commissioner of DPW and said, can't we find a better way to do the billing? Like, it's really a little unnecessary that we have to account for like every grain of salt. We should just be able to, now that we've been doing it a while, we should be able to come up with a simpler way. And just totally out of the blue, like 2 days later, they rolled out this new program where they're going
Oh.
to be simplifying it. So I
Okay.
guess other people have been
Right.
thinking the same
Yeah.
thing.
But as an update on that, I just talked to Bob Balkine, and
Mm-hmm.
he's like, oh, you and Emily are going to come down and talk about this, right? And I said, yeah. And basically what they're doing, because of this feedback, and some towns opted not to do it because of the
the red tape.
difficulty of tracking the usage.
It really is silly. I mean, I looked at the forms they need to fill out, and it was like the name of each person and exactly which section of road that person plowed. And, you know, when these guys are out there trying to get the roads plowed, the last thing they need is to be worrying about all this, you know,
Right.
tracking of paperwork.
Right.
So,
So I think the system that they're going to go with is they've reviewed the cost for each town and come up with an average per mile
Per
cost
mile.
to reimburse.
Just as we
that-
suggested.
So we'll go down and meet with them, and hopefully the highway super, you know, will agree that this is worth continuing. It's really, I mean, it's nice to be able to bring in some revenue to defray other costs, especially if it's not especially time-consuming or
Right.
difficult to do it. So, yeah, and I think something that's always seemed to be problematic is the weeds and brush, and I think that we funded that at 40,000 this year, if I recall.
yep.
Which is good,
It was the
because
amount that was asked for.
sadly, it's very, very expensive to deal with the trees, and we actually had a very reasonable firm that was doing it, but.
Rockland, yeah.
Rockland, but I don't think they're going to want to do it next year.
It was-
Because it was so reasonable.
Well, they tried to get
They
out
tried
of the
to get out.
contract.
Yeah, he said that.
Yeah, so,
If you got any trees, get them now.
well, yeah,
Weeds and brush is the same line as the tree?
that's the tree
That's the-
removal,
Is it?
isn't it?
Because that says personal service. I think it might be a different one.
That was different.
Which one is it? What is it?
Brush and weed on page 33, right? Item
Yes,
5140.
under the personal services.
Oh, that's the contractual?
I think so, oh, no, actually, that's not. So that, you're right, it's the contractual is what, we funded it at 15, which was what the highway super requested. So, and then as far as the salt, because our salt sheds are pretty much bursting with salt, that we have committed to a $200,000 minimum, which is what is budgeted.
Right, for the contract, for the New York State
Yep.
contract.
And if it ends up being just a really crazy winter, we do have that.
The reserve.
The reserve, yeah.
So, Joe, do you have any input on the rec budget?
Well, I know we have to meet with Kathleen.
Kathleen, yeah, I think she was at a training today, but yeah, I'm looking
Yeah.
forward to meeting
Yeah.
with her on that. Pretty much her requests were all funded.
Yeah.
Except for a couple of items, an ATV we didn't fund, and a special alarm for the Pine Woods garage. Those two things were not funded. Now, the media, Dave and I had a good meeting with Steve and Herb. Hey, down there. And, you know, they're tremendous volunteers, and they're so committed to informing the public. And, you know, the equipment is in need of replacement. That was part of their budget request. You'll see we didn't fund it, but we are exploring alternatives to that. It's rather complicated, the equipment that's there. It's only about 5 years old, but it's inefficient, it's not really reliable, so we're going to be looking at replacing it. They've gotten a couple bids, and we did have a resident who volunteered last year to help them with their some various components, including the microphone. So I did reach out to him to see if he'd be interested in working with us to come up with a plan. So they had received a bid for around $24,000 to replace all the equipment, and I asked them to take a look at it and put it into various stages of things of replacement. But I think what we're going to do, as I said, is ask Benjamin to come in and maybe just get some other information on providing the type of equipment that will allow us to provide basic service. And Herb had a great idea that he had talked to a benefactor who was interested in possibly providing a grant for that. So I reached out to the community foundation, and hopefully we may be able to bring in some grant money to cover that cost. So it's such a critical service that they provide, and a lot of other towns pay for the service. And I did a survey of the mayors and supervisors to see what different options towns have, and a lot of them do have a contractor that they pay. But
To do
to do the filming of the meetings. But
However, we still need the equipment.
yeah, that
So
was
that's-
the upshot, yes.
Yeah, they don't bring the equipment with them, and,
So,
so the volunteers do oh my God, the work they do is
it
unbelievable.
really
Oh, for
is.
sure.
all the hours they
Yeah.
put in, it's
Yep,
crazy.
and
And the
such a good
different-
service.
And the different systems they have, really, they don't work together, but they got them working together. They do go down sometimes, and it definitely needs an upgrade. But that whack all at once is, again, too much. So if we can stage it, which I think they said we could,
Yep.
great. Thank them for their work.
So the final item, though, is that, just wanted to point out that we are taking 116,000 out of the fund balance to keep the tax rate down. And we have added, last year we added 385, so
Right.
there is that latitude that would not necessarily be there if we had cut it right to the quick last year. And I
That leaves our reserve at a certain
well, it
percent?
depends,
Yeah,
it
okay.
depends on how we finish 2016, but at
Right.
2015, it was certainly within the 5 to
State
10%,
requirement, okay.
yeah. TC had left some, I think we pretty much reviewed
I
it.
think it was everything with the highway that
Yeah,
we
yeah.
covered, yeah.
Yep. So any questions?
The police, or the courts wanted to use the metal detector, is that right? We're not going to fund that.
Well, it's not funded in this budget.
It's like
It's not.
$40,000.
Around
manpower.
30.
About
yeah,
30.
Yeah,
In manpower.
yeah, in additional manpower, and we're exploring that right now.
Okay.
And if we go forward on that, we will have to find 30,000 in revenue to.
Yeah, we're
to defray
still
that
in
cost.
discussions with that, Aileen and I,
Okay.
and Chief Set, and so we're still working through that.
Yeah, it's just, I'd hate to have something happen, and we
Right.
had it there, and it wasn't being used.
Right.
So that people should understand that it's not mine.
Yeah.
Should understand that we just can't afford to staff it, because there's an officer there already now, right?
Yep,
all the
and then
time.
it would be
You can't do both.
two additional
two.
officers.
Yeah.
Right.
That would need to, because you have to have one at the
Check-in
checking
point,
people in, and then
Right.
one with the
one when they
wand.
go through, right.
Okay.
Keep the line
And it would
moving.
have to be a police officer to do it, I guess.
Yes.
Yep,
Not a
yeah,
technician.
so,
Yeah, contractually, it has to be
Okay.
an officer and for safety.
so one thing that you'll see is not funded in here is the reval, which
Yes.
we have
You're right.
talked about. And, there's much evidence, or there are many reasons to go forward on it. But I did talk with some people, real estate professionals, who gave some feedback, one of which is I think justifies waiting another year, because we've had so many foreclosures kind of dumped on the market in the last year, that the prices are artificially low, and we're expecting them to come up because the investors are buying them and turning them over. I've noticed a couple in my own neighborhood so it seems like that, because of that, as well as it does seem like there's some opportunities for sharing services in terms of getting a better price, and that the county shared service program, I actually talked to Owen Rafter a little bit about it, and, would that be something that could qualify for a shared service grant, and he seemed to think it would
Is that
be.
right?
Yeah, so I think that for those two reasons, and the third, really, if we go forward on it, it's about, the feedback we've had, it's about a $500,000 project, and we can borrow maximum of 5 years, so that's $100,000 a year for just principal alone, and we'd be looking at, a payment of,
You'd exceed.
probably 110 every year.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you'd exceed.
Yeah,
That's about 2% more of our budget,
Yeah.
right? I
Right.
mean,
Yeah.
we'd be adding 2%, yeah.
so,
I mean, eventually we have to get it done.
we do,
Yeah.
absolutely, and we want to get it
We
done.
do. I
And-
think we're committed to getting it done, aren't we?
Yeah, yeah, I think we are. I'm thinking that it's preferable to postpone it another year for those factors. I'm really hoping that we'll see some change in the real estate market and with pressure upward.
The new zombie law comes in effect in December, so it might help
Yeah.
somewhat.
I've noticed a lot of turnover, though,
Yeah.
in those properties, and not to say that we don't still have some, but I
Right.
was recently in the city of Poughkeepsie.
And Wappingers.
Yeah, it's pretty serious there.
Yeah.
So.
I think I saw they both
They
received a grant.
received grants through
Yeah.
that program.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
City of
both.
Poughkeepsie and Wappingers.
Wappingers, yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah, if
that,
another neighboring town, had a need to do one also, where we could share a consultant and maybe have
That
them,
would be great.
only one office for the consultant to use and realize some economies of scale from that.
well, I think Rhinebeck is exploring it a little bit.
How do other towns, they do this like every 7 years? Is that
Well,
kind of, is
I-
that the norm?
I think that what they do is, when you're at 100%, you can continually update based on the data collected.
Oh,
And
so you don't have to do a
Each year.
complete?
Yeah.
So once you get past that initial expense, then it's just kind of an
Ah.
I
upkeep?
think, yeah,
It has to be.
yeah.
Okay.
Well, I think the taxpayers are, relying on us to keep the taxes under control,
I agree.
and, staying under the tax cap this year is an important goal.
I agree. So I was pleased to see that we were able to do that, and as I said, with a few additional tweaks, that we may have to look for reducing either some other expenses or possibly increasing some revenue projections. We could do that. So, all right, well, let me just see what our next step is. I think we set a public hearing, and we have some additional meetings scheduled.
Yeah, it's on, right before you get to the
Yeah.
budgets there.
So, this was our,
October 12th.
our budget workshop. So next Monday, we adopt the preliminary budget and then set the public hearing for November 7th. And then November 14th, we'll have the public hearing. No, that's on the special district assessment role. So I think that there's a number of workshops yet where people can provide input, and always call me beforehand. And I look forward to, we're going to be meeting with zoning and planning and building
Right.
next week.
Right.
Okay.
Nice job with the budget. I mean, it's,
Well, it's a process,
it is a process.
but I think I'm very happy that we're under the cap. That's the big thing.
Definitely.
Okay, so with that, we'll close the workshop and move on to public comment on the resolutions only. And that's to authorize the supervisor to send a letter to DOT on the passing zone. That was a result of a request from
Fire
from Chief Nichols on asking to have the passing zone removed in front of the new firehouse.
Oh, yeah.
Which I never even realized that was a
I
passing
didn't
zone
either.
until I saw that email.
Yeah.
And then,
Yeah.
and I drive that almost every day. I was like, oh my God.
I've never passed there in my life.
Yeah, thanks to Donna for noticing the no passing, and it was
Yeah.
like, it was on first thing, wait, are we eliminating the no passing zone? Which means we're eliminating the passing zone to make it a no passing zone, which is logical when you have a,
Right.
Yeah.
Talking about 9G, I know that I saw an email that you, or maybe it was you, contacted the state regarding the painting of the lines.
Yeah, we did. Yeah,
Yeah.
they're pretty messy, right?
Oh, it's terrible.
Well, I did reach out to Chuck Walters, who's the coordinator for
Yeah.
DOT. He said he'd pass it on.
Okay.
Yeah, but actually, it was somewhere yesterday, and I noticed the same thing. It looked
Like
like
they laid them
some...
down and then somebody just drove over
I
them.
know.
And it's
I
a mess.
know.
Yeah.
It does
It's a
look
mess.
terrible, so, yeah,
We
we...
should really block it off till it dries. People don't, I mean, I don't know.
Odd. Yeah, it's really odd.
So, yeah, we did ask. that
Yeah, I
they-
saw that.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, so would anyone from the public like to come on up and speak on the resolution authorizing the town supervisor to send a letter to Adam Levine, New York State Department of Transportation, Region 8 Traffic Engineer, requesting to eliminate the passing zone? Okay, so Emily, want to go ahead and...
Yeah, Resolution 1012-1 of 2016, what you just said.
Make a motion.
And a second?
Second.
And all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Did you guys accept the minutes?
Yes.
We did.
Okay,
Yep.
good. And there was one other thing. The town historian had asked me to mention that they're having the Torchlight Parade this Friday at the FDR Home and Library, beginning at 6:30 to 9. And she also wanted to let everybody know that it is the Hyde Park Hat Day, so to wear your hats for that as well. 1940s dresses encouraged, and refreshments will be served after the program, free and open to the public.
And that's over, they meet at the Wallace Center, I
It's,
think?
yeah,
They
it's,
walk-
it'll,
They walk over to the front of the house.
Yes.
It's pretty cool.
yeah, and replicates what happened under
Yeah.
FDR.
Really neat.
Yeah, and John Golden will be speaking and relaying his experiences with the original one, so it sounds really nice, yeah.
That's
Yep.
neat.
I went a few years ago. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, good.
They have actors. They had actors too.
Yeah, they
Did they?
do, yeah, and FDR, and,
Well, for people, they should definitely be hitting the trails right now. They're beautiful.
gorgeous.
I was
Oh.
in back of Farm Lane today, and it was gorgeous. I saw that you were over at Mills. I mean,
Yep.
we should really be out enjoying the beauties of our parks and trails, because it's gorgeous, so.
yep. Okay, so may I have a motion to adjourn then?
Make a motion.
And a second?
Do we have public comment? No.
Oh, and all in favor?
Aye.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, that's, yeah, you-
I guess
Yeah,
I
it's
could
just
go
a
back
workshop.
down to
Meeting.
the shared service thing.
Yeah, if you want to, spend some more time.
Well, we closed the meeting.